Today I'm in Birmingham, back where it all began for one of England's most reliable and skillful all-rounders. Here is the story of Cap 657.
I felt like I wasn't quite ready and maybe didn't quite have the skills to consistently perform at that level.
Oh, is that out? Well, as simple as that.
Oh, over the top. And he'll make it the 100.
To win all over the world, win series in Australia, in India, we just beat everyone. And just as it happened to be, was my best summer in an England shirt. But an incredible moment, and that's definitely one which will stay with me when I finish.
Back to where your journey as an England cricketer first began. Tell us about what Chris Woakes is like as a person, was like back then.
Mate, going back a long time now. I think I was just a kid that just wanted to play as much as I could, be with his friends, play with a smile on his face, and always wanted to be outdoors. So that kind of helped. I had some older brothers, half-brothers that loved the game as well. So that kind of got me into it.
Can you remember how old you were when you first walked through those gates over there?
So I started here when I was about 12. Previous club I was at, I was around about 7. Basically played all my senior cricket here, men's cricket started here. But I remember coming here and I just had that buzz on the journey to be here and just get here and be ready to play cricket. And I met so many great people here. This place holds some real fond memories and special memories, so it's always good to come back.
One of the characteristics of any local cricket club is always that family feel around it. Was there anybody here that helped you come in and take advantage of the facilities or integrate yourself within the community?
I mean, there's always people along the way, isn't there? You look back and you think, God, they really helped you. And obviously my parents, being number one for me, obviously they backed me from a very young age that I could come and do these things, dad's taxi and all that. And when I first got in the first team, there was a number of people which I could reel off who really just helped me along the way, almost took me under their wing. I just really enjoyed my time here. I wouldn't have changed anything for the world, to be honest.
Talk me through the transition from playing here. Obviously you were earmarked very, very young as a prodigious talent. Your transition from here into Warwickshire.
And the reason for me to come here was mainly to play a little bit of a better standard of men's cricket. I felt like league cricket on a Saturday was that really helped me get to where I needed to be, because you were always playing probably at that standard that was a little bit better than what you were at. So yeah, I mean, this was huge in making me the player that I was. And obviously then playing a lot of cricket at Warwickshire around sort of the squads there, the professional staff, that obviously just increased and improved you as a player as well. And it's amazing how you kind of had that sliding door moment. I felt like I wasn't quite ready and I wasn't quite on it, and maybe didn't quite have the skills to consistently perform at that level. I think what would have been the worst thing for me was think, well, I've had some success, I can just continue to do what I'm doing.
It sounds, looking at the smile on your face when you're talking through it sounds like the best time of your life. You're a young teen going through academy, but is there anything that prepares you for Alan Donald, the South African legend overseas player at Warwickshire, throwing compliments your way? There's a fantastic quote where he said, Chris, in no doubt, play for England at some stage. How do you take that? It's a huge compliment.
Yeah, I mean, I remember meeting Alan Donald for the first time. He became coach of Warwickshire and I was like just in awe of the bloke. I'd watched this guy bowl at Michael Atherton and bowling balls through here, bowling the speed of light, nicknamed White Lightning. I just remember thinking, God, this guy's now my coach. How's it going to be? It's a bit intimidating. Do I speak to him? How do I speak to him? Do I call him sir? It's always a bit weird. Immediately he put me at ease and was kind of just a normal guy. And I think those comments filled me with confidence. And there was people around the dressing room, Ian Bell, Jonathan Trott, Jim Troughton. Those guys were really good in terms of not fully taking me under the wing, but they helped me along, and such great players of the game. It was great to have them there to pick their brains.
Brilliant. Certainly did give you confidence. 2008 breakthrough year, 42 wickets, topped the averages, result in getting picked for the Lions in 2009. Take me back to 2008. What was that like?
So I'd had a little bit of a taste for for Championship cricket around in 2007, I think it was. And in 2008, as you said, was kind of my breakthrough year. I was picked in a game, I think it was against Gloucester away, and I didn't do anything special. I think I picked 1 wicket in the first innings, 2 in the second. And Ian Salisbury had been injured for that game. So then we were going away to Cardiff the next game to play another 4-day game. And I just assumed I would drop out, Ian Salisbury would come back in. And, a senior player came back, but they still picked me as a youngster. And I remember taking 5 wickets in the second innings that game. And it's amazing how you kind of had that sliding door moment. That was a big moment for me. So I realised, God, I can perform at this level. I can really do the business. And for the rest of that season, I stayed in the team. I had huge confidence. I was bowling well.
And then opportunities come, and the timing of them must have been outstanding. If the summer felt like it flew, you're in rhythm, you're bowling well, you're swinging it. Talk me about the Lions. How quickly did that come around?
Yeah, I was picked on that Lions game to play at Derby against West Indies. It was like their pre-tour sort of fixture to get going for the Test series. It was a kind of grey, overcast day at Derby against the West Indies side who probably just got off the plane. And I managed to take, I think I took 6 wickets in that game as well. And it was just kind of, I guess I say, I was on a bit of a roll. And to wear the 3 Lions, although I wasn't obviously making a Test debut or an international debut, to actually wear the England kit. I was just like a kid at Christmas. I was around some big players. I mean, Rob Key was a part of that team. I think he captained the side. I think Mo Ali was there, Steve Davis. There's at the time some real big players and some real big names, and to just be in the dressing room, it kind of gave me that sort of, I suppose, hunger for more.
It wasn't long then until you got the call up for your international debut. I remember it.
Yeah.
Talk us through it. How are you feeling?
To get the call and to say you're going to be on a full tour and join up the full squad is just. I remember being on the phone and obviously hearing the words, and it was just, again, a bit surreal, and didn't know if I was either dreaming it or, whether, and then all of a sudden you get those emotions of, God, am I ready? Am I ready for this? Am I good enough? How's it going to go? I was picked to go on a white ball tour of Australia, which you were a part of. Yeah, I had my success in red ball, and then I was picked on the white ball tour, so naturally I think I had these sort of anxious feelings whether I was ready for that. But then going into that dressing room, the guys had just won the Ashes. So it was full of confidence, that dressing room, and some big players, Kevin Peterson, Andrew Strauss, Paul Collingwood, Ian Bell, Jonathan Trott. Those last 2 I think I leaned on quite a bit, having known them from Warwickshire.
Great debut, best figures for England, individual in an overseas tour, 6 for 45. Really tough tour though, in contrast. How does that feel, having the best day of your life and then going through a tour where you lose 6-1 away in Australia?
Yeah, it's tricky. I look back on the tour with huge fond memories. Making your international debut is a huge part of your career and what you kind of dream of as a kid. And I did have some success, which was great, and it kind of showed that I kind of maybe had, some qualities that could succeed at that level. But also I had a few games where I felt like I wasn't quite ready, and I wasn't quite on it, and maybe didn't quite have the skills to consistently perform at that level. There was a wealth of experience within that dressing room, which I touched on and kind of tried to observe as much as possible to try and figure out what they did and how they worked at the top level. There was a game at the MCG where I was bowling to Shane Watson. Obviously, he was at the peak of his powers, I think, at the time. World-class player. And I was bowling, some what I thought was nice deliveries, and he was just banging me back over the top for 6. And I was like, that's my best ball. And I realised at that point I needed to probably get a bit quicker, get a bit stronger, and learn some new skills. And I think that whole experience for me was great to have a taste of it, but realised I had to go away and get better.
In those specific tough times that you're talking about, how much does the wealth of knowledge and experience in the changing room help you get through that, both on the field and then when you finish the tour?
I think the most important for me on that tour, looking back, was to observe and see what people did and how they went about their business, how they trained, how they prepped for games. Because as a young player, you kind of still, you're learning on the job a little bit, especially at the highest level. You're kind of still learning what works for you, how to prepare, working on your mental side of the game. And I think what would have been the worst thing for me was think, well, I've had some success, I can just continue to do what I'm doing. So thankfully I saw it that way and didn't think that I'd just made it. Yeah. Otherwise I may not be standing where I am today.
Do you think that propelled you forward even more? Because it wasn't long then until you received your test call up. Do you think going through, I suppose, the high of your debut and then the low of losing 6-1, those learnings between that period of just being introduced into international cricket and then reaching the pinnacle in playing Test cricket. Did that help?
Yeah, I think it did. I think having that taste of international cricket, albeit not red ball cricket, really helped when I made my debut and could help me control my emotions around the debut and being an England cricketer. My red ball debut came around, it was a fifth test of an Ashes series. The guys had already won the series, but I felt like it was just such a big moment, to be a part of an Ashes series. I've watched, as a young kid growing up, watched so much Ashes cricket, watched 2005 Edgbaston, at Edgbaston live, was working on the ground staff there, but then to be kind of on the other side of the fence and actually a part of it, in the heat of it, you're obviously picked on your ability and your skill level. So you kind of have to have that mindset that you are good enough and you've done the work to go out there and put in the performances, I suppose. From a mindset point of view, I kind of realised that I'd almost lost that opportunity to play for England. And just as it happened to be was my best summer in an England shirt. Had a fantastic year. That 20 seconds or 30 seconds you get to kind of raise your bat and salute the crowd is just something which I really wish I could take in again.
And he'll make it the 100. Well batted, Chris Woakes.
So you've had some taste of international cricket, some success, not all rosy. 2015 South Africa didn't go as well as you'd liked. What happened? What were you feeling?
Well, I mean, I didn't have a great tour. I found it tough bowling in South Africa on some pretty flat pitches, Kookaburra ball. I played a few test matches there and just didn't have the rewards that, I personally feel like I had a bit of an unlucky tour as well, but at the same time, I probably wasn't quite at the level that I needed to be. So it was that winter I realised I needed probably to put on a little bit more pace. So I worked on a few things. Technically wise, I started running in a little bit harder. I tinkered with my front arm, and without getting into too many specifics with the bowling action, just tinkered with a few things which allowed me to bowl that little bit quicker. And then I started the summer, obviously thinking realistically my England Test aspirations may have, slid down the pecking order. And mentally I was probably still adjusting to that, and it just so happened that I started the summer really well. I took a career best 9 for against Durham at Edgbaston. And that same week, or just before that week, Stokesy had injured his knee in the first test match of the summer. The next thing I knew, I had a call and was being picked for the start of the 2016 summer against Sri Lanka. And just as it happened to be, was my best summer in an England shirt. Had a fantastic year, took the most wickets I think I've taken ever in a summer. I think I was player of the series again. It was just an amazing summer to be a part of.
Over the course of your career, you've taken hundreds. Plenty of wickets, and there are moments that you'll relive over the years. But when you look back at that summer, was there anything that stands out performance-wise or off the field that you changed or tinkered with specifically that catapulted you into the Chris Woakes we know today?
I think what was crucial to me potentially doing well, from a mindset point of view, I kind of realised that I'd almost lost that opportunity to play for England. So I was kind of seeing it as my last opportunity. You never know, always kind of play the game like it's going to be your last. I mean, it obviously helped that I was in good form. I felt good, my body was good. I think what clearly stands out is, the moment obviously receiving player of the series against Pakistan at the end of the summer. It was a bit of a moment where I was just like, the hard work had paid off, and unfortunately we didn't win the series. It was 2-2, and the icing on the cake would have been to win the series, but it was just really nice to kind of get that reward after what I had gone previous, the tough South Africa tour, a lot of talk that I probably wasn't going to play again, to kind of show people what, I suppose, that resilience that you can come back and do well from some bad performances, I suppose.
You mentioned the sense of relief and satisfaction sitting there having been awarded player of the series. Talk us through how you continue that awareness to drive forward and to want to do better. Is there anybody that you look at in the changing room or somebody you admire that you take inspiration from, or does that come from within?
I think a bit of both. I think over my international career and professional career, I think the one thing that always stood out to me, and still does, the very best are never satisfied. They're always trying to improve, and you look at some of the greats of the game and you think, well, how can they get better? They're already scoring loads of runs, they're taking loads of wickets. But the reason they get better is because they're constantly striving to improve, and the very best are always trying to get that little bit better. And it might just be a 0.5% or 1%, but there's a couple of guys clearly you know, Jimmy Anderson, Stuart Broad, you know, the longevity that they've had in the game to continually keep improving, and even now to keep trying to get better. Just, it's an admiration really to look up to those guys and try and kind of just follow their path really, and how well they've done it, and continue to strive to get better.
We've spoken about your excellence with the ball, but the beauty of you is you are a genuine all-rounder.
Try to be.
And in 2018, you achieved something that some of our greats of the game haven't managed to achieve. So names like Lara, Punting, Tendulkar.
I'm definitely not as good as them, but yeah.
They're not on the honours board at Lord's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take us back to your maiden Test 100 against India.
Oh, over the top. And he'll make it the 100. Well batted, Chris Woakes. A maiden Test century at Lord's in the context of a match-winning partnership potentially as well.
And he will walk off with his head held high. He's played a magnificent part in this Test match.
Yeah, I mean, I look back on that day and really wish, you know, I really wish I'd taken it in a little bit more. You know, that 20 seconds or 30 seconds you get to kind of raise your bat and salute the crowd is just something which I really wish I could take in again. I look back on the footage occasionally and I'm just like, what am I doing? Honestly, I literally didn't know what to do. And, you know, obviously first Test ton and only Test ton, but an amazing feeling. You know, I love playing at Lord's. You know, thankfully I've got a good record there, and I don't really know why. Maybe the tradition and the whole occasion brings the best out in me. But yeah, you know, to score 100 at Lord's was something which I didn't think was possible for myself. I didn't think I'd ever get the opportunity to do that. And you know, I probably should have scored another one against Sri Lanka when I got to 60.
Oh, so you should be up there twice.
Well, I should be, mate. Yeah, I should be, because I threw it away. I chipped one back to the bowler on 60, and it was a flat wicket. I should have had two. But that moment to salute to the crowd. You know, my wife Amy and our young daughter at the time was only born. She was only about 6 weeks old. So, you know, good memories to have. Great memories.
Absolutely. Well, you think of all the early years that you had here preparing to bat at Lord's. I think this is a nice hunting ground for anybody that wants to play.
A little
well
bit
at
of a
Lord's.
slope here as well, you know, so very similar, very similar.
So we've spoken a lot about your career until now. I think we should go and have a sit down, talk about your favourite moments as an England cricketer.
Perfect.
In front of me, this very special cap, number 657.
Incredible sense of pride to receive a cap, particularly the 3 lions. It means so much.
Woakes has done it again.
To win all over the world, you know, win series in Australia, in India, we just beat everyone.
I have in front of me this very special cap, number 657. So valuable. I know, having received it, I'm going to hand it back to you because I don't want the responsibility of holding somebody else's Test cap. Talk us through what it feels like to be presented with your first Test cap.
Yeah, I mean, pretty surreal moment really, going back to the day that I received it from Surrey and Botham. You know, obviously a great at the game, you know, an all-rounder. I really looked up to a guy like himself, and, you know, as I say, real surreal to receive an England cap, I suppose. You know, all the hard work that goes into actually getting to that moment, and not even just from a professional perspective, but you take yourself back to being a young boy here to receive this cap was just not even on my radar. But an incredible sense of pride to receive a cap, and particularly the 3 lions. It means so much.
And having played for England for so long now, what does the cap mean to you? Has it changed from the time you received it till now?
Yeah, I think it's a good question really, because I think when you first receive it, it's kind of a sense of relief to be a part of such an elite club. You know, as I said, the hard work that it takes to actually get one of these in your possession and have that number, which is, you know, just personally yours forever, and you're kind of representing the people that have helped you get this cap.
So I definitely sense a huge amount of pride when you speak about your cap. But over the course of this journey, what's been some of your greatest moments?
Well, I mean, I've obviously been very lucky to play not only Test cricket, but also white ball cricket as well, and be a part of those squads across my career, and to be a part of the white ball change, I suppose, in English cricket was something which I've really have fond memories of. To be a part of the white ball team leading into the 2015 World Cup, and then post, you know, moving on towards 2019 is something which I really, you know, have such fond memories of, and real passion about how the fact that we changed the way the game was played, and to be a part of that team where we were such a close-knit unit, and to win all over the world, you know, win series in Australia, you know, in India. We just beat everyone, which is amazing feeling. And you know yourself. But I think that those moments of being part of that squad post 2015 and going on that journey through 2019 is definitely my fondest memories from a white ball perspective.
You talk about pride, it gives me a huge sense of satisfaction and pride speaking about that journey, because not only was it so much fun, but the sense of achievement and accomplishment in 2019 was incredible, and certainly stands out as a highlight in my career. And I'm glad you said it as one of your greatest moments. And what about in the Test game? Any great moments that stand out?
I think from a personal perspective, there's a few things that stand out. Taking 10 for at Lords, to be able to raise the ball, you know, in both innings at Lords, you know, that was just a special feeling. It really was. So the 10 for at Lords was a really nice feeling. You know, raising the ball to the crowd and family in the stands was really nice. And then one of my favourite innings and partnerships was during the COVID summer. I wasn't in great form with the bat, so it almost kind of went in maybe not too many expectations, which is a weird place to be, I think.
But I remember watching that Test match and just thinking, they're going to get over the line here. Take you back to that partnership. What were you thinking? Were you as calm as the camera suggested, or?
Popey, I followed Popey in. Ollie Pope had got one which kind of blew off a length and hit him on the wrist and was caught. And I remember thinking, geez, I'm not sure I even want to go out there if that's happening. And thankfully, another ball didn't really misbehave like that, actually, particularly off the seamers. But I just remember having a real clear chat with Joss out in the middle, and Joss took the reins, really. He said, look, we're going to go hard here. We need to try and win this game before the new ball if we've got any chance of winning the game. And having that clarity of thought out in the middle, you know, with probably two quite experienced players, maybe that helped. That we just said, right, we've got to take that risk and take the opportunity to try and put the attack back to the Pakistanis. You've been there more than me, but when you're out in the middle and you're in a partnership like that, you almost feel bulletproof and you feel invincible. You feel like they're never going to really get you out unless you kind of make a bad mistake. So it was great to be in that mindset, and you know, I had the best view in the house watching Joss do what he does best. You know, we looked dead and buried, and to kind of see us over the line and win that match was a great moment.
All outside edge, and it's gone down to third man, and it's England.
Amazing achievement. Talk me through, you know, a sense of achievement in a team sense. Is there ever a moment where you thought after a game?
The one moment that really stands out for me is kind of towards the back end of that journey in 2019, the World Cup, the semi-final at Edgbaston, obviously a home ground for myself. You know, going into a huge game, a semi-final of a World Cup against Australia, the old enemy. You know, it always brings that added bit of pressure and a bit more scrutiny around it. We obviously came off the back of a couple of really good performances leading into that semi-final, and it just felt like we had this sort of feeling around the group that we were going to win that day. And it wasn't arrogance, it wasn't kind of overconfidence. I just felt like we all knew that we were in a good place. The dressing room was confident, and if we brought anywhere near our best that day, we were going to beat them. I had personally felt a great reception from the home crowd. Being at home, this was kind of the first time I felt playing an international fixture at Edgbaston. I kind of had that local boy sort of reception, which was a really nice feeling. And the way we obviously won, we smashed them and got ourselves a foot in the World Cup final. And I remember Trevor Bayliss just reminding us that we'd won nothing yet. You know, that sense of, okay, enjoy it, but we've not lifted the trophy yet. We're not, you know, we're not world champions or anything like that. So that sort of feeling of that real high of getting to a final, but then Trev just kind of knocking us down a peg and just saying, you've got another game to win here. Just remember that. And that moment, just being in the dressing room together, enjoying a beer, but knowing that we hadn't got the job done just yet, was just a really, really nice feeling.
Yeah, and even talking through it there, the hairs on my hand, arms
I know
are
exactly how you
standing
feel.
up. Just the feeling was immense. Chris, thank you so much for talking us through your amazing career till now. Long may it continue.
Cheers, mate.